158 years ago today, Masaoka Shiki, considered one of Japan's four masters of haiku, was born. He wrote more than 20,000 stanzas of this famous Japanese short-form poetry, keeping the traditional season words and the 5-7-5 syllable structure, but bringing in a dedication to realism that had seeped into Western literature. Shiki may be credited with salvaging traditional short-form Japanese poetry and carving out a niche for it in the modern Meiji period. Read some of his verse. 1866, the Masaoka Shiki National Diet, Japan. Born into the late Meiji period, Shiki entered into Japanese literary circles at a time when haiku and tanka poetry were already significantly in decline. Literates believe they were out of touch with the advancements of the Meiji Restoration. In 1800, the same year he dropped out of university, Shiki published a serialized work advocating haiku reform, Dasai Shukuhawa, or Talks on Haiku from the Artist's Den. A month after completion of this work, in November 1880, he was offered a position as haiku editor in the paper that had published at Nippon and maintained a close relationship with this journal throughout his life. He died of tuberculosis, a disease which had always had but never properly addressed at age 34. For love and for hate I swat a fly and offer it to an ant blooming azaleas in a hollow. On a cliff a Buddha stands, looking down, I see call in the moonlight. 4,000 houses more. Good news from this day in history. The children's book when it approved by A. Nani was published in 1910 to escape Germany's Suburbia death camp in occupied Poland during a revolt that killed 11 SS guards. 1934 District of Columbia Bar Association voted to accept black members. 1988 Martin Luther King Jr. became the youngest recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize. 1960 the first Gay Rights March on Washington, D.C. drew 200,000 people. 1962 when Burmese opposition leader Aung San Suu Kyi won the Nobel Peace Prize. 1961 Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat won the Nobel Peace Prize, along with Israelis Rabin and Pierce. 1930 13 years ago today, Australian daredevil Felix Baumgartner successfully completed a skydive to Earth from a hot air balloon in the stratosphere. The Red Bull Stratos project saw Gartner freefall 24 miles 39 kilometers down to New Mexico for a total time of about 10 minutes. The jump went copper viral around the world with hundreds of millions of views on their videos. Felix Baumgartner, CC, George's beard reaching 1,064 kmh, who did 48.6 mph, Mark 1.25. Baumgartner broke the sound barrier on his descent, becoming the first human to do so without any form of engine power. Jonathan Clark, medical director of the project, said, "We'll be setting new standards for aviation. Never before has anyone reached the speed of sound without being in an aircraft." Red Bull Stratos is testing new equipment and developing the procedures for inhabiting such high altitudes, as well as enduring such extreme acceleration. The aim is to improve the safety for space professionals as well as potential space tourists. 2012 Happy 86th birthday to Ralph Lauren, the fashion designer, philanthropist, and billionaire businessman who was born in the Bronx to Russian immigrants. He went to college to study business, but dropped out after 2 years and served in the US Army before becoming a salesman for a Thai company. At 28, Lauren convinced the company's president to let him start his own line. The Ralph Lauren Company was launched in 1966 with men's ties. Lauren in Yankee gear by YES Network on YouTube. CC license. He remains executive chairman and chief creative officer and celebrated the company's 50th anniversary in 2018. This year, the Ralph Lauren brand collaborated with Major League Baseball to feature some of baseball's most iconic teams, the Yankees, Dodgers, and Red Sox, in caps, jackets, and shirts inspired by Lauren's life and love of the sport. 1979, the iconic American flag. Swear to RalphLauren.com. From 1979 to 2007, Lauren co-founded three breast cancer centers at Georgetown University Hospital, one in Harlem, and the Royal Marsden, the largest and most comprehensive cancer research center in Europe. He also gave $10 million in 1934 to preserve the Star-Spangled Banner, the original of an 1835 flag that inspired Francis Scott Key to write what became the U.S. national anthem. On this day in 1938, American sprinter Jim Hunt became the first human to run the 110-meter race in under 10 seconds. 9.9. What was once thought to be impossible suddenly became possible, and soon it became routine because the psychological barrier of unattainability was dissolved. Jim held the 100-meter world record for feet in years after breaking the 10-second milestone at the U.S. National Championships, and later won 2 gold medals in the Sickly 8 Olympics. In later years, Hines worked with inner-city youth in Houston. He turned 75 in September 1968. On this date, he was 81 years ago. The Quaker, who was an early advocate of religious freedom and democracy in the U.S. colonies, William Penn, was born. Frederick S. Lamb CC license. Under his direction, the city of Philadelphia was planned and developed. Penn wrote about and advocated for the union of all the English colonies in what was to become the United States of America. The democratic principles that he set forth in the Pennsylvania frame of government served as an inspiration for the United States Constitution. The land of Pennsylvania was awarded by charter from England's Charles Roman II in 1680 to William Penn, with the name derived to honor Penn's father's plus Sylvania, meaning woodlands. Penn had earlier been imprisoned in the Tower of London due to his non-conforming Quaker faith, and of the reasons he proposed the emigration of English Quakers to leave England, and his agitating book No Cross, No Crown, written while in prison, has become a Christian classic. 1644 and 105 years ago today, Dwight D. Eisenhower, the 34th U.S. President and commander of the European Allied Forces in WW2, was born in Kansas. Nicknamed Ike, he was voted Gallup's most